Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Board of School Trustees meeting for Fort Wayne Community Schools. We begin this meeting, as we do each meeting, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we have roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
Ann Duff, Member at Large.
Raleigh Booker, District 4.
Noah Smith, District 3.
And I'm Maria Norman, Member at Large. And to my left, we have Dr. Mark Daniel, Superintendent of Fort Wayne Community Schools, and Angie Filler, Clerk of the Board. This evening, we do have one award. It is recommended that the board recognize the late Mayor Tom Henry as a recipient of the Fort Wayne Community Schools Friend of Public Education Award. The Fort Wayne Community School Board of School Trustees occasionally recognizes an individual whose support of public education has benefited educators, students, and families in Fort Wayne and throughout the state of Indiana. As mayor for 16 years, Tom Henry was a strong supporter of education throughout the city and was keenly aware that schools serve as an economic driver. He supported each of the FWCS referendums, recognizing that school buildings are neighborhood anchors and that strong schools lead to strong communities. He was a frequent visitor to our schools, reading to elementary students, talking to high school students about the electoral process, or serving as principal for a day. He was also a regular guest speaker at our annual Study Connection breakfast, sharing stories about the importance of being a community that gives back. When students came to visit his office, he welcomed them, even letting them sit behind his desk to imagine what it would be like to be the mayor of Fort Wayne. His presence will be missed, but his legacy will live on. Members of the Henry family, please come forward to accept the Fort Wayne Community Schools Friend of Public Education Award.
Old track.
Steve. Henry, we gotta have more chairs.
Read your phone. What one? Read your phone.
This way. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Aw, thank you. Thank you again for being here, Henry family. Okay, next we move to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes for the regular meeting on April 22nd, vouchers and payroll, the personnel report and addendum, and the required disclosures. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved. Second.
Thanks, Raleigh. Thanks, Ann. Let me write that down. Thanks, Angie. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Dr. Daniel, was there anything that you wanted to share?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do have an announcement to make. The fact that we have a new principal for Wayne High School. He's Dr. Corey Franklin. So, Dr. Franklin, if you please rise. Dr. Corey Franklin comes to Fort Wayne Community Schools from Lexington, Kentucky, where he is the principal at Henry Clay High School. Dr. Franklin first served as principal in 2012 at Anderson Elementary School. In 2013, joined Indianapolis Public Schools as principal at William Penn Elementary School, and then moved to principal at Arsenal Tech High School in 2018. Besides leading several schools as principal, Dr. Franklin has been an assistant principal, elementary school teacher, evening school Spanish teacher, and an adjunct instructor at several colleges. Dr. Franklin believes the work of education is liberating and requires a collaborative approach that is inclusive of all in an ever-changing, diverse society, and schools must prepare students for a life of excellence and equity. At Wayne High School, Dr. Corey Franklin replaces Principal John Hauser, who is retiring after nearly 4 decades in education. So welcome.
We have no old business, so we move on to new business. Steve, can you do A?
Yes.
Thank you.
It is recommended the board approve the purchase of a Microsoft Enrollment Education Solutions annual license agreement from Bell Technologies of Indianapolis for $235,987.86. The annual purchase provides Microsoft Windows and Office licenses for all district-owned devices. The license also includes many of the core data center products such as server operating systems and desktop management tools. The license also allows students and most staff to download Microsoft Office on up to 5 personal devices at no cost. Since pricing is set by Microsoft and not the reseller, Indiana law allows for the purchase of software programs without a bid. And this money is going to come from our operations fund. Kevin Grubel, Director of Technology, is here to answer any of the questions that we might have about this recommendation.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Kevin?
Is this the latest version of Microsoft products then?
Good evening. Yeah, this allows us to keep updated. So any of our servers that fall behind, we can update at no cost as part of the subscription.
So this is just servers or computers?
It's pretty much everything, all the way from the data center servers to teacher laptops to student laptops. It's pretty all-inclusive of Microsoft products.
So Copilot will now be available?
That may be part of the subscription. I don't have that knowledge off the top of my head, though. I'll have to look at
The
that.
AI, the ChatGPT and all that stuff?
There's a lot involved in that, yeah. So the Copilot stuff, I'll have to look to see if there's a subscription in there or not. I know it's coming to the Windows 11 desktops as we've been upgrading them. I just don't know what the feature set of the license is.
And this is kind of in the weeds, sorry to the audience, but we're buying it through Bell Technologies, but they're not a reseller, and we don't have to get a bid then?
They
It says
are.
that we're the license agreement from Bell Technologies of Indianapolis, but then because it's Microsoft pricing, we're not required to get other bids?
Yeah, the pricing is set by Microsoft because we fall into different student and faculty use quantities. So that pricing is just handed down through a reseller, which basically we write the check to, and then they pay Microsoft.
But there's no upcharge, and that's the difference in why we don't have to get a bid out and stuff?
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Okay, thanks, I was just curious.
Any other questions? Thanks, Kevin. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Julie, can you do B?
It's recommended that the board approve the renewal of our student information system from Power School of Folsom, California for $206,037.76. This annual Power School renewal provides Fort Wayne Community Schools with the appropriate licenses and support for our student information system. Since pricing is set by Power School and not a reseller, Indiana law allows for the purchase of software programs without a bid. Funding is from the Operation Fund, and Kevin Grubel, Director of Technology, is still here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Kevin on this item? Okay. You lucked out, Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Jennifer, can you do C?
It is recommended that the board approve the disposal of real estate consisting of the former South Transportation Center site containing 8.53 acres to Bunn Real Estate Holdings LLC in the amount of $2.8 million. South Transportation Center was closed as a transportation center at the end of the 2022-23 academic school year due to consolidation. It is now no longer needed and classified as surplus land. There were 2 appraisals coming in much lower than what the sale price was, and we are very happy to see the $2.8 million. Darren Hess is here to Director of Facilities to answer any of our questions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thanks Noah, thanks Raleigh. Any questions for Darren?
When can we close?
Tomorrow at 10.
All right.
Can't sign that fast enough.
Any other questions?
Fun fact, when I started teaching at Elmhurst, that was a Little League baseball diamond. Just in case you
I
wouldn't
did
know.
not know that. Hate to go for the ball in the outfield into the quarry.
Yeah, facts. And dusty. Just a little more dusty.
Thanks, Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Ann, can you do the next one?
It is recommended that the board approve the construction contract with Automated Logic for upgrades to temperature control systems at Franke Park Elementary School and Lakeside Middle School in the amount of $873,145. The project consists of upgrades to the building automation control system at Franke Park Elementary School in the amount of $303,000, some $300,000 amount. And Lakeside Middle School in the amount of $569,555. The existing control systems are proprietary, and Automated Logic is the single source vendor for this work. The project will be funded by the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, or ESSER grant. The work is anticipated to be substantially complete by September 1st, 2024. And Darren Hess will answer any questions.
Thanks, Ann. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Raleigh. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Darren?
When were the current control systems installed?
Roughly 2003.
Oh, wow.
So are we going to be seeing this at the other buildings over the next couple of months, or?
Well, with ESSER, we were in the past repair projects, the last 2 bond issues, we've been keeping pretty good pace. Our next largest one will be Northside High School, coming up probably the next 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So this is reconverting everything to Automated Logics at these 2 schools?
It's converting some, but Automated Logic is already in the building with the power plant and that, so it's just every other terminal unit throughout the building.
And then, so is Northside the only remaining one not on that system then yet? Or
That is correct.
After this, then?
Other than South Wayne, two schools.
Nice. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Darren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Raleigh, can you do E?
It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of furniture for the Nutrition Process Center office areas from Sealy Office Solutions of Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the amount of $163,989.92. This purchase will provide essential workspace and seating to ensure nutrition services staff have the necessary infrastructure to support effective collaboration and operations. FWCS was able to secure pricing through Omnia Partners National Purchasing Cooperative. Indiana law does not require public bidding for purchases made at or below approved cooperative purchasing entities. Funding will come from the Nutrition Service Fund. And Felipe Guerrera, Director of Nutrition Services, is available for questions.
Thanks, Raleigh. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Felipe?
What kind of furniture is this? Is it like something that's cool? Is it standard?
Hi.
Hello.
It is new furniture, so new cubicles, new desks. We've expanded our offices over the last couple months, so we have a couple new ones, new conference room, so furniture for the new conference room. We never had one, so. So this is for the whole building, including front offices, the nutrition process center, and the back of our whole warehouse as well.
Nice. So no hot dog-shaped couch?
Oh, that's a good idea.
I mean, sorry, I got off topic. Any other questions for Felipe? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Noah, can you do beverages?
Sure. It's recommended the board approve the purchase of beverages in the amount of $711,448.70. The bid is a one-year contract with the option to extend to supply bottled water, juices, Gatorade, cold brew coffee. Due to federal requirements, more stringent specifications are now being used for beverages served in schools throughout nutrition services. Beverages containing nutrients are preferred in making award determinations. The nutrients considered are vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, vitamin C, calcium, niacin, thiamine, riboflavin, and iron. Funding will come from the Nutrition Services Fund. Invitations to bid were mailed to 9 prospective vendors with 5 responding. The 3 highlighted, and I presume selected or recommended, are Commercial Food Systems out of Indianapolis, Gordon Food Services out Grand Rapids, and Keurig Dr. Pepper out of Indianapolis for a total of $711,448.70. And Felipe is again here to answer questions.
Thanks, Noah. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Felipe on beverages?
This isn't necessarily about the beverages, but it says that there are more stringent specifications for beverages. Are there any other things that have changed that would make a student would notice, like chicken tastes worse or whatever?
No, that's a good question. So USDA just released new guidance on updated meal requirements. So they're going to be enforced in 3 years, but they're phasing out every year. So we're going to try to get closer to that target. They're capping added sugars at 10% of, so menus are planned on a weekly basis, not daily. So the weekly menus have to average at least 10% or less of added sugars. And they're lowering the sodium requirements even more.
So what's currently the sugar?
There's no limit.
Oh, so that could make it.
Exactly. So
Bland dessert.
so this purchase is mainly for our beverages a la carte sales. So we've expanded the offerings this year, so it's about 50,000 higher than last year because we want to have expanded offerings. But at the same time, these regulations are going to kick in a couple of years. We want to make sure that we have a couple of different plans in place. So a lot of those beverages are sugar-free. So we're trying to tackle those things that way. And then the bigger question is what we're going to do in our operation to tackle those new regulations, and we have pretty good plans in place.
So when you say sugar-free, does that mean they have artificial
That's correct.
sweeteners in it?
So right now it's a big topic, and just like a couple years ago when the guidelines were changed, a lot of manufacturers just drop out of the game. Now the conversation is what's going to happen. So it's in our best interest in here to try to figure out what we're going to do to tackle the challenge and not rely so much on the what ifs. So it's kind of a hot topic right now, but we will have more guidance as we get closer to the actual target date.
Interesting. Thank you.
So out of curiosity, Felipe, there's the 3 vendors with Commercial Food Systems making up about 80% of the cost. What's the mix of products between the 3 vendors?
So Commercial Food Systems, they usually they have the better pricing on beverages. They can't tackle anything that's frozen or refrigerated, so they really concentrate on shelf-stable items, and they beat pricing out of almost everyone else. So we, for this bid specifically, and a couple other ones, we went with the lowest bidder for the items.
So the other 2 products are more refrigerated, or what was the other one you said?
Frozen.
Frozen?
Yeah, so the other selections for Gordon's and
Keurig Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, it's certain items that we couldn't get through commercial, so
So the majority of the products still will come through commercial?
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Felipe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll do the next one. It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of bread and buns from Alpha Baking Company Incorporated in the amount of $155,012. The bid is for a one-year contract with the option to extend to provide bread products to schools and facilities on an average of 3 deliveries per week. Product information is reviewed by registered dietitians using product considerations such as nutritional analysis, price, and adherence to specifications. Funding will come from the Nutrition Services Fund. Invitations to bid were mailed to 9 prospective bidders with 1 bidder responding. And Felipe is still here to answer any questions. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Felipe on bread?
Where's Alpha Baking Company located?
I believe it's here, Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
So it's very local.
And, go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Do they offer, or do we ask for whole wheat products instead
Yes.
of enriched wheat? I mean, I've switched to the good stuff instead of all that wheat that's has nothing in it. So which one do we serve?
Whole grain. So
Whole grain.
wheat, yes. So per our regulations, that's the only kind we can have.
Excellent.
Yes.
So is it because of quantity that we had 9 prospective bidders but only 1 bidder? Or why do we think we only had 1 bidder?
So this is just, my understanding. We just haven't had anyone else. There used to be another company in town many years ago. That was before my time. But then they just stopped bidding on anything. So really it's only been Alpha Baking since I started here about 5 years ago. So we haven't had anyone else tackling that.
Interesting. Any other questions?
I guess I feel that number's low, comparison to the drinks, and then what's next? 155, do we not consume a lot of bread products then, or is that?
We have a fair share in our menus. But again, it's this, classic argument between do we make it or do we buy it? So we make a fair amount of baked goods in our nutrition process center. Mm-hmm. And, based on the new regulations, that's another conversation we're having. Are we going to start scaling more, towards our products, or are we still going to have a fair share that we procure out there? But with the current landscape, it's a lot more logical that we start making our own as we phase out into those new regulations that will kick in 3 years.
I do remember the baking department, because about this time last year, some of us took a tour, and they were baking May the 4th be with you cookies.
Yep.
Yes.
So now we have a cookie printer. So we can bake cookies, we can print logos and everything on it. So it's very cool.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other bread questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Steve, can you do cafeteria disposables?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's recommended the board approve the purchase of cafeteria disposables in the amount of $708,019. Let me say that again, $708,019.54. The bid is for cafeteria disposable products such as plastic, aluminum, and pressed paperboard containers that we use at the Nutrition Process Center. And bids were mailed to 30 prospective vendors. We had 9 responses, and you see 6 of the bids there. And I assume they are for various products I'll just mention Pathway Solutions getting the largest proposed contract with us at about $345, and then 5 other vendors providing other materials for that total of a little over $708,000.
Thanks, Steve. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move we approve.
Second.
Thanks, Noah. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Felipe on this one? No? Okay. Not as excited about that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Julie, can you do the next one?
To recommend that the board approve the purchase of food from Gordon Food Service, Inc. in the amount of $6,475,989.13. This includes items such as fruits, vegetables, meat, along with staples such as flour, sugar, and salt to be used in the school lunch program at the Nutrition Process Center, and the 17 cooking kitchens from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025. Funding from the Nutrition Services Fund, and Mr. Guerra is still here to answer questions.
Thanks, Julie. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, everyone. Any questions for Felipe on this?
Well, I wanted to just first of all compliment you on this approach to buying food products. I know in the backup it was mentioned that the district is going to see a savings of 20% on these products from what we now do, which I think is fantastic, given the fact that all food prices are going up. I mentioned this at a meeting on Friday. I sit on the St. Joe Community Health Foundation board, and we were reviewing a number of requests by nonprofits who provide food to their customers or clients. And I wondered if all of these small organizations, or I wondered what they were paying for food, and wondered if there might be some interest in bringing all of these organizations together to consider a food co-op. Is that even possible?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can they talk to you about what you did, or perhaps forming one or joining ours?
So as far as joining us, I don't see that in the foreseeable future, but there's strength in numbers.
Okay.
So joining a group purchasing organization, we can leverage their buying power,
Right.
which is way higher than we could do by ourselves. So their strength comes from not just tackling, smaller or bigger school districts. It's a lot of different organizations. So, they have pretty good pricing, and that's what we're seeing.
And that was my concern. If a small agency has been given $10,000 to buy food, I'm pretty sure their price is not going to be as good as ours.
Correct.
Well, I will direct if there's interest your
Yeah,
way.
of course. Yep. Anyone you have.
Thank you.
Any other questions on our food purchase?
Is this or any other products we just approved go towards Antis and the program there, the culinary program there?
None.
No.
Yeah, they're a separate program from us.
So Felipe, I had a question earlier just because there was an article in the paper this week about the Allen County Commission going to have their own kitchen. And that kind of goes to the point of NOAA. So what we are approving tonight is solely for our students and for our children and staff in our schools.
Correct.
And any other program that we support with food services or whatever have their own budget, their own planning. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so we only vend meals right now. We used to have different sites and claim the meals as part of the National School Lunch Program, but we stopped that some time ago because it wasn't operationally efficient. So we only sell meals to these sites. Now the pricing that has to go to those sites, because we receive commodities from USDA, there has to be a fair market value. So the pricing that we have to provide to those sites, it's a little higher that we would normally charge, but it's highly regulated by those guidelines. So it's still, we still, even though the pricing may be a little higher than, and we can argue about this, right? It is still fairly competitive. You can't get a meal for $4. Fairly large meal. So when we leverage, economies of scale and our facility and labor, we can do it really well at a low cost. And choosing to go solo, it's their choice.
I just want to thank you, because you informed me with a lot of information in the last day or so of questions that I had, and commend you on the proactiveness that you're doing at Nutrition Services. I know that we've seen a lot of change just in the, even in the years that you came on, us visiting, us seeing in different ways of buying. So thank you for the work that you've been doing.
No problem.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jen, can you do the next one? Sure. Thanks.
It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of paper goods and supplies in the amount of $382,001.25. This bid is for cafeteria products and supplies such as bags, gloves, aprons, trays, and paper products to be used at the Nutrition Process Center and our schools. Funding will come from the Nutrition Services Fund. Invitations to bid were mailed to 16 prospective bidders, with 7 responding. And there were 4 here that we have accepted from Acorn, Gordon, Janner's Supply, and Nextera Packaging. Felipe is still here to answer our remaining questions.
Thanks, Jen. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Felipe? I love that you've stayed standing this entire time.
It's just easier.
No questions? All right.
Well, just so you guys know, this bid is $639,000 less than last year. So,
Whoa.
Shut up.
Same amount of units?
say what?
Same amount of items?
Well, we're purchasing less, but we're really dialing into our inventory in the warehouse. So we're really putting the numbers to work.
Nice.
As Jennifer said, good work.
Yeah, that's great. Any other questions? All right, Felipe, I think we're all done now.
right.
Thank you very much for standing that entire time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
All right. And then we are on to reports. The English Language Learners Program supports students at various levels of English proficiency as they work toward becoming proficient in English. The FWCS ELL population has grown quickly over recent years and now numbers over 4,200 students. Emily Schwartz-Kearns, Director of ELL, will present this overview. Current Snyder High School senior Eric Villata Molina and 2021 Northside High School graduate Victory Paul will also present to share their experiences as ELL students in Fort Wayne Community Schools. Emily, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, Dr. Daniel, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about our ELL program in Fort Wayne Community Schools, both what we do and how it enriches our school community. So I will give you a brief overview of the program, some of the facts and figures, and then we'll get to the heart and soul of our program, which is our students. All right, the English Language Learners Program is legally required support to help multilingual learners become proficient in English and succeed in academic content areas. So it is a compliance program. We have prescribed identification processes to identify students who need support, and it is legally required.
Sorry, which body or entity requires that? The federal government, state?
There are federal guidelines and then state procedures really about how we have to do that. Indiana has very specific procedures about using the home language survey as the initial tool, and then we assess students. So
So it's a federal law, a state?
yes, each state has a little flexibility in how they implement.
Thank you.
So we are constantly providing English language instruction to help the students learn English specifically, But every single staff member in Fort Wayne Community Schools is part of the ELL program because our content area teachers, our instructional assistants, all of them are helping our students learn English and academic content at the same time. We have now over 100 ELL teachers in the district, many ELL assistants. We have a relatively small central office staff, which includes some interpreters, and then all of the other connected pieces around the district. So I would like to recognize our ELL staff members who are here. We have a couple ELL teachers in the audience. We have a guidance counselor who works very closely with ELL students. So could you all please stand and be recognized as part of our ELL program? Thank you. Okay, on to some of the numbers. I know there are always questions about numbers. So right now, over 20% of Fort Wayne Community School students speak another language in addition to English or have another language in their background or in their home. We now have more than 4,200 ELL students, and those are students who are eligible for support within the program. That number is growing quickly. I'll show you that history of numbers in a moment. It now numbers about 15% of our population is actively part of the ELL program. We have ELL students in every single Fort Wayne Community School, ranging from 6 to 300, or just over 300 in our largest population school, so it varies greatly. But we do support ELL students in every school now. When I first started in the program almost 20 years ago, we had limited ELL sites, so we sent students to those sites to receive services. But now they can choose any program in the district, and we follow the students with the support. Then we do offer some support to non-public schools through Title III, which is a federal grant. So there's a portion of that that is generated by ELL students in non-public schools. So as far as student numbers, that's about 9% of the population we serve. And we also have the breakdown of elementary, middle, and high school students in Fort Wayne Community Schools that are part of the ELL program. So here's that growth. This shows the last 10 years or so, since 2013, we have grown in ELL student numbers over 50% in 10 years. Within this school year, since last fall, we have grown 8%. So that last blue bar was our fall count of just around 3,900, and we are already over 4,200. And I'm sure that number's out of date because that was a week or two ago that I pulled it. So every day, every week, we are getting more ELL students.
So we've had 339 kids roughly just since the fall, just in this program?
Yes.
So these are new students to the district?
Yes.
Wow.
Languages spoken, this is probably the most asked for statistic. Everyone wants to know how many languages we have, and it's over 70. Of those languages other than English, about 65% of our ELL students speak Spanish. Then after that, we have Burmese, Karen, Arabic, Chin, Mon, Bosnian, Vietnamese, Swahili, and a whole lot of other languages that make up the other 6%. So you'll notice Burmese, Karen, Mon, and Chin are all languages of Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. So we have a lot of students from that part of the world. And these are our countries of origin. We do have over half of our ELL students who are born in the United States. This pie chart represents just those who are born in other countries. So Guatemala is now the largest birth country of our students who are born in another country. Thailand, Mexico, Malaysia are at the top. And Burma is up there too, but when you look at Thailand and Malaysia, those are high in numbers because they're sites of refugee camps where some of our students who are from Burmese background or Karen, Mon, or Chin background, many of them were born in refugee camps in Thailand or Malaysia.
Does that chart represent the entire student body or just ELL?
Just students who are born in a country other than the United States. So
you can have a non-ELL person in that, on that chart?
Correct. And those could be students who have another language in their background and initially tested as fluent and were never part of the program or who have exited the program. We do sometimes have students who are immigrant students, but not ELL students at all. They could be an immigrant from Canada or Australia, where English is their native language as well.
So you said over half are born in the United States, and if we look to Ann's point, this could or could not include an EL student.
Right.
But if we said, yes, it does, so that's 2,100 kids that were born in the United States that come into our schools needing ELL support services.
Roughly, I'd have to get the exact
And I
numbers.
presume that's because the native language is spoken at home and not English.
Right, right. And when we test students, there's a wide range of proficiency levels. Students may come in as very beginners to English, but we provide support up until what is called a level 4 or expanding. So they can know quite a bit of English and still qualify for support until they exit.
And it stopped me if you're going to get to this point, but we start services when kindergarten?
Kindergarten
Pre-K?
officially. Pre-K, we don't officially assess students, but those pre-K teachers are doing wonderful things for their ELL students, but the identification requirements start with kindergarten. So I'll move you to the more interesting part of the presentation. So I'd like to introduce our two amazing students. We are going to start with Eric. Eric Villalta Molina is a member of this year's graduating class of Snyder High School. He has also attended the Fort Wayne Community Schools Career Academy for 2 years, studying both digital design and multimedia design. He has participated in Latinos Count and has received a Parkview Opportunity Scholarship. Eric.
Hello everyone, my name is Eric Villalta. I was born in El Salvador with my mother's side of the family. My family and I lived in the most poorest and dangerous part of El Salvador, which was considered the most dangerous country at the time. We were surrounded by different gangs, So I saw many people die in front of me. On the day of my 13th birthday, I remember being sleeping on my couch, and my mom woke me up saying, we're going to the United States in a couple days. On June 2nd, 2019, I was in a car driving across the country to begin my new adventure. My mom and I crossed many countries, cities, forests, and deserts. At this point, I knew I couldn't look back and give up. I took it as an adventure. 22 days went by, and on June 24th, 2019, I got to Texas. We crossed a wire fence, and on the other side we heard Bienvenidos a Estados Unidos, which was said by a police officer, which means, welcome to the United States. I remember thinking, we made it. We can't look back anymore. We're here. After a couple minutes, we were driven across Texas by the police, and they took us to a place where they took our shoelaces so we couldn't harm each other or ourselves. And they gave us food and water. I was kept separated from my mom for about 2 or 3 days until we were released. On June 26th, we flew to Virginia, where I stayed for a year, and I studied 1 year there, which I was really confused. I didn't know a single word in English. I didn't know how I passed the year. We left Virginia to come to Fort Wayne on June 2nd, 2020. We got here on train. In Fort Wayne, I started to go to school as starting my freshman year in Snyder. I didn't know English. I barely knew what some words meant. I was guided by my ELL teacher, which I thank a lot, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have learned nor understood the language. My freshman year was the hybrid year COVID, and I had some days at school and some days at home, which, to be honest, that year can't be considered that much cool, because some people were asleep all the time, but at least some of us tried. Another thing that I thank God for is my counselor speaks Spanish, and he helped me a lot with my English and different classes. He still helps me a lot, and I help him with his Spanish, which is growing real quick. I got a lot of help from my other teachers as well. They had the patience to teach me a different and slower way, so I could at least understand the classes. Learning English was and still is hard and really confusing, because everything I hear is backwards in Spanish. One of the big challenges for me learning English was the pronunciation of stuff. I still struggle a lot pronunciating many words. I can say that becoming bilingual gave me dyslexia, and my migraines became worse. But I mean, it's worth it. Another thing that helped me a lot was to work in a place that only speaks English. I work at Giordano's Italian restaurant. I was one of the lowest performers 2 years ago because I barely knew the language and I didn't have that experience of working in the United States with people. A couple of months went by and I started hearing about customers and new people that want to work, which I already learned some English by then, so I was translating for them. I offered my help to my boss, and he allowed me to help the people, so they could at least understand what they were trying to say to them. My boss thanked me a lot, and I got a raise little by little. 2 years later, I now stand as the designated translator of the restaurant, and as well as the head or the kitchen staff. Thanks to my education here in learning English, I've helped others that needed it, like I needed it a couple years ago. I understand what it is to come to a different country not knowing a single word. It's really hard. And I'm privileged to say that I had really good people helping me during my process. And I tend to keep those more people that don't know the language either. As my plan for next year, I have received a PARPA scholarship opportunity in partnership with IB Tech, where I will continue my love with the kitchen and study culinary arts. As a dream that I have for open my own restaurant or business. Thank you everyone who is here to hear me, and thanks to those people that chose me to be here speaking today.
Thank you.
Eric, who would that counselor have been? Do you mind sharing that?
Mr. Rupert.
Mr. Rupert, okay. And is Mom willing to talk a minute? Right, there's a microphone if you don't mind. Great job, Eric, by the way. Mom, if you could share, how has this experience been for Eric in your mind? And what's the benefits he's gained through this process?
With his process on...
The process of the language changes and the education at Snyder.
Okay, I'm really proud about him. He's a really good boy, and I am really happy because he is on Snyder. It's a really nice school for him. Thank you for the people helping him. And the school helped a lot to the Hispanic people. You know, learning English from Spanish is hard. And he's a really nice speaking English. And yeah, I'm really happy with Snyder and every people helping the Spanish people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, I am so impressed with even just how you told your story to us, with not having any English background, and that in less than 4 years, you presented like any other high school student would who speaks English. I think you've done a tremendous job, and thank you, Emily, for having Eric come speak to us tonight, because that just shows me the challenges that you're up against coming from another country, but also the passion and the service that we're getting from our teachers and our counselors. So I appreciate the fact that you were brave enough to stand up here tonight and tell us your story. Thank you.
And Mom, you should be very proud of him. He did a wonderful job. His English is excellent. You know, you obviously have the drive to learn the language and to study and all that great stuff. So I appreciate you speaking to us tonight.
All right, I will introduce our second guest speaker. Victory Paw graduated in the top 10 of her class at Northside High School in 2021. Before that, in Fort Wayne Community Schools, she also attended Forest Park and Brentwood Elementary Schools and Lakeside Middle School. She just graduated from Purdue University Fort Wayne this spring. Do the math, 3 years to graduate. And she is now, this is the most exciting part to me, in the hiring process to become an ELL teacher in Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a little nervous right now. My name is Victor Pa, as you've heard. I'll talk about my life a little bit and run you down the whole situation. So I was born in Metlat Refugee Camp, Thailand. My parents are from Karen State, Myanmar, originally known as Burma. I am of the Karen. We call ourselves Ganya, ethnic group in Myanmar, and I speak fluently Karen and English. So I arrived in the U.S. in 2007, and we settled in Phoenix, Arizona, through the UN International Organization of Migration. So I began my education there at Montebello Elementary School. I went to kindergarten and first grade. I used to cry every day because I was so scared and I didn't know anything at all. But that's where I was introduced to the ELL program. They had a after-school program, which was quite interesting, but it helped me out a lot. And then we moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana 2 years later. I think my family knew some people, and it was like a lot cheaper than Phoenix, Arizona. The first elementary school I went to was Forest Park. I was sent to first grade again. So I did first grade twice, but I'm not upset. I'm not sure why, but it happens to many people, many refugee students that I know too. But I remember being taken out of class and learning with a smaller group. The group was filled with kids who were similar to me, even though we were all from different countries as well as like different backgrounds. We were dealing with the same situations. We were all trying to learn English, and while balancing our own language and the different barriers that we had to face. Leaving the big classrooms and being in a smaller group with the kids, I felt more comfortable. Personally, I didn't feel excluded from the classrooms. I was actually developing my personality and began to feel more confident in myself. And after that, we moved house. I transferred to Brentwood Elementary, which I graduated from the ELL program at 4th grade. So that was a whole fun achievement. Even though I was already out of ELL, I never stopped hanging around ELL teachers. I had many friends that were still in ELL, and I just felt like it was a little community. So during the Lakeside and as well as Northside, I still went to talk to the ELL teacher, and we still did a lot of stuff, had culture events, and I even hosted with my friend a culture event at Northside High School. We had different ethnic groups performed their dances, as well as from Africa, Asia, even South America. So it was really cool, and that's where we hosted the Japanese students. So it was a fun time. I had a very positive experience with all different ELL teacher, whether I have them or not. They were very welcoming, so it really had a very positive performance for me. This is only my 3rd year of college, but I graduated from Purdue University. My bachelor is in integrated studies with a minor in psychology and small business certifications. Doing all of that, I've switched 3 schools and I did many things. But I'm going back to the transitioning to teaching to get my license, specifically in the ELL teaching recommended by Abbott Elementary. I would love to continue my education, and I hope one day I become a professor. I had this professor at PFW who was also teaching at FWCS school at the same time, and she really inspired me to set that goal because I didn't know it was possible. She was balancing that, and I was like, maybe that's my next goal. I feel like it's very good to know more than one language because I feel like my mind is unlimited. I can switch from different personalities, and I'm more mindful of like others, and as well as like my communication skills it's more broad, and I can flip back and forth and know different people, different styles. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast. An advice that I would like to tell ELL students or just any student in general is, I know it's been said many times, but truly believe in yourself. Always ask for help. Like, there is always somebody to help you out. I cannot be here where I'm at right now if I didn't ask someone for like help or just for some knowledge, you know. It's really important. I believe that you are the results of your own action. You can be the change that you want to see. So I literally came from nothing, like straight out of a refugee camp. Parents are still working at the like my factory. Like they work so hard that my dad doesn't even know English because all he did was work for me, you know. So doing these goals and doing this, I had this one specific goal in mind is that I want to be proud of myself, and I can truly say that I am being at this state and just being here presenting to you guys. I really am proud. But I will also like the board and just the community to know that I would love to work and advocate for diversity of Fort Wayne. Like, there's so many different ethnic groups, and also educate each other about the different parts and the different languages and culture. I want to contribute to making students feel comfortable and have the opportunity to express their culture. I feel like representation matters, and if they see someone from their situation, maybe they can believe in themselves and do it too. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate this opportunity.
Wonderful job. Can I ask you a couple quick questions? You said you graduated ELL in 4th grade?
Yes.
So after that, you didn't have any more ELL classes?
No, I didn't.
And then you said you went from your regular classroom to ELL time.
Yes.
Were you there with kids that spoke even different languages than yourself?
Yes, I had. I remember some friends from Haiti, Somalia, Kenya, a couple of different ones. There's so many, but I feel like we just end up like having the same situation, so we just like became friends, and it was like it felt more comfortable to be around them, even though I was like taken out of the bigger classes.
So that was any experience seeing those other kids and hearing their stories in their languages?
I think it helped when you see somebody else like you going through the same thing. Yeah.
You have a lot to be proud of. Good job.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for coming to work for us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you'll be very successful.
I hope so, too. Yes.
You said you were proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And you should be. And I'm sure your parents are proud of you, too. Just with the story that you told us and the things that you're doing in your life and how you're going to give back by being a teacher, like you are your parents' wildest dream and everything I'm sure that they hoped for when they came here. So keep going. We are super lucky to have you in our district.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for me. I didn't know if you had any more questions for me. You are not required to ask more questions.
Oh, I did have a question. When you were presenting, you said we have a school with 300 ELL students. Which school is that?
Southside High School. And that is the school that's experienced the fastest growth over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Do you feel like we're adequately staffed at 100 for ELL?
Nope. The state is recommending that we get to a ratio of 30-1 for ELL students to ELL teachers. We are currently just over 40 as a district if we have all of our teacher positions filled, and we are constantly adding to stay close to that 40. We're doing pretty well as far as the state goes, I think, but I would love to get to that 30 point.
So this is a need position, so Victory's coming in at a great time?
Yes, we have a number of open positions, so anyone out there licensed to teach ELL or interested in getting licensed to teach ELL, we have positions posted.
And what's interesting to me, you don't need to know another language. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, it's a great experience to have studied another language and have that empathy of what it's like to learn another language, but our instruction is primarily in English, and as Victory said, she was in a group with people from all over the world, so need to have a caring heart and an interest in teaching language.
Can I ask you a question about this ceremony that's coming up on the 21st? Are you involved in that? Adult English language learner?
That's through the continuing education
Okay.
department, so no, I'm not directly involved with that, but that's the separate program for
Okay,
adults who are
thank you.
studying English, which it's wonderful as well. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
All right, that brings us to board member comments.
No comments tonight, thank you.
Thanks.
Just one comment. Jennifer talked last meeting about the changes that are calling quite a stir in Indiana education, and that is that most elementary schools, the state is asking them to take 80 hours, I think, worth of credit toward a literacy endorsement. And so there have been, I think they had held their first public meeting maybe just recently. So, and it lasted quite a while. But there's another big change that the state of Indiana is discussing right now, and that is redoing the high school diploma. I think I read that this would be like the third type of high school diploma in the last 5 or 6 years. So if you have children who are currently, I believe, in 7th grade, then this change would apply to them. And I'll just mention I have several concerns, but I'll just mention my top 3. Number 1, the standard diploma, which they're calling Indiana GPS, what is that, graduates prepared to succeed, I think, Indiana GPS, is almost, well, let's just say it's much, much easier to obtain than a high school diploma is now. By my count, I believe you could graduate with 24 credits. But what they're doing is it's like kind of a dual system. Students have to get credits, and then they also have to get what they're calling points. For example, you might get a point for going to a college and career fair. You might get a point for taking a career aptitude test and things like that. And that might not be so bad, but the other high school diploma, which is the GPS Plus, is, from the accounts that I've read, is going to be very, very difficult to get. I think Lake Central High School, which is up in the region, has, and that's a very large school, they have gone through their last year's graduating class, and less than 10% of their students would have qualified for the Indiana GPS. In fact, so there's kind of a disconnect between the two diplomas. The other thing is, you have to get credits, you have to earn these points, some of which are external. Maybe a job that has to be verified by your employer. Maybe an internship that has to be verified by an employer, a certain number of hours. So somebody has to track all of the credits and the points. And I've looked through it 2 or 3 times now, but it's fairly complicated. The whole system is. So there's some real concerns. Indiana already has a counselor shortage. And we're way below the national average for the number of students a high school counselor should counsel. So that's going to be a real complex situation for schools to be able to track, and parents and students to be able to track whether they're eligible to graduate or not. So again, if you have a student who's a 7th grade or younger, Indiana is talking about that right now. You can go onto the State Board of Education, and you can look at the Indiana GPS Diploma, you can look at the requirements for the Indiana GPS Diploma Plus, and then there's also an option for you to comment. So this is the comment period right now. But they're kind of, and I will mention one more thing, and that is kind of fast-tracking the whole situation. They want to be done, I believe, by September. Am I right, Dr. Brown? I kind of see you nodding.
The feedback's by July, so yeah,
Okay,
it's coming
okay,
quick.
yeah, I mean, there's a comment period, then they're gonna have a public meeting, then there's gonna be another comment period, but they want to kind of wrap it all up by this fall, which is also a little bit concerning. So, if that, and Jennifer may have some comments too, so I'll leave the rest of it to you.
If you don't mind taking a little liberties, we do have a guidance counselor in the room. Ms. Shroy, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot. We've heard a little bits and pieces, and if you're willing, I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts or comments about some of what Julie said. Ms. Schroyer from Snyder High School.
So just to give her a little bit of support in this, so we have asked our high school principals to examine the new diplomas, which really probably fell upon the guidance coordinators. And she happened to present about 34 different points that we probably need to examine. So if you want, please feel free to explain where you are in this process. And again, we actually have a meeting tomorrow morning with Dr. Jenner. So she'll be in town, she might be in town right now, to talk about both those things. First of all, the science of reading, but also this. And I would emphasize, we do need to provide feedback to our state. They need guidance, they're searching. And I think that it's a process. We know it won't be a finished form. It may have different modifications. I'm hoping they take that into consideration. But what do you see as, what's your thinking and where you would like to see it tweaked and where you might say, hey, this fits? But again, feel free. You're not going to, please feel free. Go for it.
This is on the record, but not on the record.
Yeah.
No, obviously, like a lot of things, I had to listen and watch and read too, because it's hard to understand, and there's language in there that we had talked to Shanita just saying, like, there's a lot up for interpretation right now, so not quite sure what exactly everything means, but the general one, it seems like students could actually do that in 2 years, because we have students right now that earn credits in middle school. So especially if we're earning PE credits, career credit, Algebra 1, Spanish 1, and bringing those up. We have students who go to summer school. We have students, earning extra points. Points can come from AP, dual credit, any of our extra. If we have students do work-based learning. That could be 4 more credits, I think, or there's just lots of, or points, sorry, points actually equate to credits anyways. You still earn 40 total, is what I'm understanding. So that's how it could add up really fast. So a student really, honestly, I feel like could get done in 2 years, which is concerning to think about a student after 2 years of high school going to IU. So that's really concerning. When we look at the GPS Plus, going to the Career Center, so a student doing that, going to the Career Center, getting certification, doing their pathways that way, getting that and getting dual credit there, that's a way that a student could do that. But of course, the Career Center cannot handle all of our students, so that will decrease the amount of students. Another way to do the GPS Plus was the College Core. So, but that's 30 college credits. So, or having students do that, that's again not that realistic for the amount of students we have now earning honors diplomas. So That's why they're seeing a decrease in honors diplomas, which is the plus diploma. I know that we'll have teachers concerned because there are less science requirements, there are less math requirements. And again, some of the things are okay for students that are seeking 2-year degrees, but students that are going on to 4-year college, it's like where's that student fall? That's what my concern was, because you still have requirements for universities. They still want you to have world language. They still want you to have high-level math. But if the diploma's looking like the students can take this route where you don't need it, we have a lot of students that will opt to take the route that is easier. So that's concerning to us, because we don't want them to just be really quick and just graduate really fast and then not really be ready for what's next. So that's the kind of the things that we're concerned about. So I think we really have to look at what is your plan after high school, and what kind of science do you really need? What kind of math do you really need? So not looking at what math is required for you to graduate, but what math is required for you to be successful next, and convince the student and the parent to do more math and science than is required. It's just hard.
So I would say, to further that, piggyback on what you just said, that's the importance of what we're doing with the Schools of Success, because it's setting the stage. This is what you need to progress to the next level. So if you are interested in advanced manufacturing, engineering, trades, technology, what is it that you need? Or the other School of Success, human services, education, part of that, as well as the health services. So if that's the case, thus the need for us to be presenting that, not when they're entering high school, not even when they're certainly when they're in their sixth grade, starting to really to solidify what are my interests after having these X, Y, Z and experiences, even beginning in kindergarten. So very purposeful in our experiences for our students, but also progressing with this is reality. This is, as this young lady, this is what you need to enter this workforce. And this is the type of courses that we're going to provide you with, hopefully, greater and greater dual credit opportunities as well. So, but to do that, absolutely, we're fortunate because we live in Fort Wayne and we have many of these resources. Part of the question that we ask, what if I'm in a rural community? How am I going to attain all these opportunities? So it is causing us to rethink, how do we share staff across many miles? So you're looking at, asynchronous learning. How do you share adjunct professors? So again, if you're interested in teaching, but also teaching from a university perspective, you do both. Those types of things open up, even to the point where we've been discussing how do we have our own coalition of universities, and that coalition, they agree that those credits will transfer irregardless of what they say. You take it here at Indiana or in Fort Wayne, but it doesn't complete the credit transfer that you need at Bloomington or at West Lafayette. And it's like, maybe we just do that regionally. So those are things that it's really causing us to think, I'll say, deeper. How do we really connect to this process, and perhaps how do we help other districts across our state? But I think you have valid points, and again, they need to be expressed. We do have a gentleman that's coming up here, I believe May 28th or something that soon, and he's one of the leaders of this process, and again, to have this discussion. So we'd like to have all of our guidance coordinators there, as well as our high school principals, Shanita, Dr. Brown, and Dr. Robbins as well. So we can have this dialogue before they set this in motion, and quite frankly, even talking with our legislators. So how can we be proactive on this front? Again, a bill was passed. How do we do the science of reading? There are some things that need to be tweaked. And how is a bill tweaked to enable that to be a better implementation? Again, we feel as if we're primed we're sitting very well in regards to this implementation, but it still is not going to be an easy transition. We have to talk things through. Again, how do we do that? But appreciate all the effort you've already gone through and your colleagues. You by far exceeded the expectation. I haven't told you this, but thank you for what you've done, because that took a lot of hours for her to process that diploma GPS. And again, we meet tomorrow morning with Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schroer, for letting me put you on the spot. And I know it's not my comment time, but I'm sure Jennifer's going to talk about Kelsey's graduation experiences and Lexi's graduation experiences, requirements, or I will.
I could let you talk about that. Yes, as I have 3 children who've graduated from foreign community schools, each of them have had a different graduation requirement, and they were only a few years apart. So seeing this change and change and change, and the fact that Dr. Daniel just mentioned that Ms. Schroer had to spend hours processing a change in a diploma should tell you something right there. I mean, a counselor who works with that every day, all the time, and she has to take hours to process what they're changing, maybe should be discussed earlier than just changing it. I have a lot of comments, but most of them have been made. Thank you, Julie. But we still, at the end of the day, schools are here to educate students, to gather knowledge. I'm proud of our schools' success, and what we're looking at doing is offering opportunities for students to learn about all the different jobs and other things that are in this world and where they can go the day after graduation. But we're still here to educate and allow child to gather the knowledge that they need to make that next step. And what I'm seeing with that GPS Plus and hearing from even that one school district that only 10% of their students would even be eligible to go on to have that opportunity. A student may change their mind. We heard from Victory today. She went to school, she went to college, and she got on a path, and now she wants to transition back into teaching to do something different. But she had that opportunity because she took those classes that allowed her to go to school to do that. I'm afraid if we go this route where this is an easy route, I have one of those students still now. He'll say, oh, I don't have to take world history, great, check that off. I don't want to do this. And it would have to be their parent who's pressing them to take those harder classes and to challenge them, or a counselor to do that. But some of those students do not have those resources pushing them. So for me, the state is opening up a window of uneducated students in high school. It's ending up in the end, it's a very poor thing on the economic path for Indiana. The development and economic path here relies on educated students who have college degrees to have schools open, like all of these people who are sitting here with, and all the people in the audience with a college educated degree. So if we want to be an entire just workforce of non-post-secondary school people, then maybe this is the path that we take. But I hope that by our district stepping up, having our counselors come to the table, having our superintendent, our board, and all the educators in our district stepping up and presenting some of these facts of where they see that this could go, that they make those tweaks and they make those revisions so that all of our students are supported no matter where they decide to go, post-secondary, military, workforce that day after graduation. So I've been studying that a lot, and I want to thank those educators who took the time out of their day or took a day off or a personal day and went down to the State Board of Education and made their statements, whether it was the 80 hours on literacy or the school diploma. I watched that. It was a live feed, and we had representatives from all over the state there commenting. And I hope that Dr. Jenner was there, and then a few of her, I think there were 7 State Board of Education appointees, they are listening, and I hope that they took notes and realized that those who are in our schools, who are teaching our students, are those voices that they should be listening to. So thank you to those teachers. On a much lighter note, I did miss the retirement dinner, and we had a lot of wonderful, wonderful educators who have spent a lot of time with our district, who have retired this year or retiring this year, and I just want to thank them. And then I know that we have a lot of educators who could be retiring who are still with us, and I really would like to thank them with a big heart that they have decided to stay on with us and continue to serve our children and our community in a special way. And there are a lot of those who hit over those milestone marks that aren't thanked every day, and we wait till retirement to thank them. So there's a lot of those people in this room tonight that have been here for a long time. And I would just want to thank you and have a great end of the school year. That's it.
When you were talking, Ms. Schroyer, it reminded me of something that I found on the IDOE website a few years ago. But to preface that, when I was a guidance counselor, you had to have 7.5 semesters in order to graduate, which obviously they've just thrown out the door with that. And I can remember when I was in high school back in the 80s, my friend wanted to graduate as a junior, and she had to jump through several hoops. It was very hard. You had to get permission from the state and all this to graduate as a junior. That was a big ordeal because it's always been 7.5 semesters. So several years ago when I was looking on the IDOE website, just for fun, I saw this, it was Mitch Daniels and Tony Bennett initiative. And if you graduate as a junior, you'll get some great scholarship to go on to college. And of course, the first thing that came to my mind, this is a money saver for the state. So you're thinking that these students can graduate in 2 years. What do I hear? I see savings of dollar signs. I'm sure that's what the state has in mind, is what a money savings this is. The less amount of time they spend in schools on our tax dollars, the better off we will be, which is unfortunate because you pointed out the importance of getting that 4 years high school education. But as this diploma change has come up, and you mentioned that your kids have had several different ways to achieve their diplomas, and I've been probably looking more intently at education for like the last 12 years or so. And have seen so many changes, and then this most recent one with the new diplomas being in the paper. My husband, of course, reads that and asks questions about that. So then we have discussions and like, well, they've done so many things in the last 12 years that I've been paying attention. So many different things with testing and with the diplomas, and there's so many different initiatives. Do we have any proof that any of this has worked? Where's the evidence that these things they put into place, these policies and these new laws, that they are working? So, I don't think there's any proof. I don't know. But Julie has always said that look at graduation rates. That shows you, how successful schools are. So I looked up the graduation rates that I could find, and I looked at non-waiver for statewide graduation rates. So it goes, I started in 10, 11, we have 80.4, then it's 81, 81.7, 83.4, 82.8, 82.3, 80.1, 87.9. Then it gets worse, 76.7, 78.7, 80.6, so 84.9. If you're looking at graduation rates, there's no proof that any of this has worked. I mean, they're actually fairly stagnant. And I thought it was interesting too that in 2021, 78.7, then 80.6, then 2023 is 84.9. So really, they don't count 2020 apparently because we just gave diplomas away then. But I found it interesting that it's that high. So I don't really think COVID seemed to make that much a difference because actually in 2023, that's the highest graduation rate since 2010, 2011. And then I decided, well, I'm going to look up and see how we've done since we've had Dr. Daniel. So, 21, we had 86.39, 22, we had 87.43, and 23, we had 88.97. So congratulations, Dr. Daniel. You've made a difference.
Really? The only comment that I have is just thanking the retirees for their many years of service. I did attend the retirement dinner as well. It was my first time, but it's just people who work for the district make such a huge impact on our community. So just thank you. I hope that they enjoy their retirement. I hope that some of them decide to return back and, sub and work for us part-time because we definitely need them. But thank you so much for your service.
I think I have not commented the last couple of meetings, so I'm due. First of all, Kelsey is how old?
24.
Jennifer's daughter is 24, and so let's say she started kindergarten at age 5, that's 19 years. There's been 8 graduation requirement changes during that tenure, and Jennifer's youngest daughter and my youngest daughter are the same grade, and they graduated in 2023. If I recall, Ms. Schroer, that was the first year graduation pathways, right? So here we are, not even a full year after that program was first implemented, we're talking about changing it again. I just don't understand that. I'll echo what Raleigh said. I got to attend the retirees dinner, and I want to thank you, our friend out there from Sodexo. Wonderful event. I had the privilege of sitting with Patrick Hubler, who is retiring from Lane as a gym teacher, and Roberta Sexton, who's retiring from Maplewood Elementary. And it's her I want to chat a little bit about as I got to know both of them because I didn't know either one of them. Roberta followed a similar path to me, and she went to Glenwood Lane and Snyder. But she grew up in a little bit different environment. There was an apartment complex that's still there to this day that I didn't know as a Glenwood student. I think I learned later on in life was a government subsidized housing apartment, and that's where she grew up, she said, not knowing where her next meal was coming from. But it was neat to see how proud she was to have gone on, married her sweetheart who worked at Lincoln Food Services and worked his way up to be a manager, and she was able to have children and stay with those children and then volunteers in the school so often that the principal, and I forget the principal she said, had encouraged her to go get your teacher license, you're here so often. And so she eventually did, and she then taught for us for over 15 years after raising her 3 boys, as I recall. So I just felt it was a really neat story. I have known this, but kind of was spent some time with some of my family over spring break. I'm the grandson of probably what would have been a government housing student or children at that time, but that government housing didn't exist in the 1920s. So there was some new meaning to that, I realized, over spring break. So I just want to thank Patrick and particularly Roberta Sexton for their time, energy, and effort to Fort Wayne Community Schools and to the Fort Wayne community at large and the students they serve. The last thing I'll say is I'm excited but anxious, and I want to give a full-throated endorsement to our friend Raleigh Booker as she ventures on to attempting to succeed Mayor Sharon Tucker in the 6th District. While part of me absolutely doesn't want to see you leave the seat, another part of me knows what great service you can provide, what you've done with us, what you've done for Fort Wayne Community Schools, and thusly what you can do for the city of Fort Wayne. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, and I have no say in how it's going to turn out. But I think times I speak on behalf of the board, and this is another one, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we all are cheering for you and wish you the best. And no matter what happens, we'll love to have you come back. But if you get that chance, we're super excited for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
All this talk about credentials reminds me of something, if I might add to this conversation. On Friday, Ivy Tech celebrated its commencement ceremony, and Dr. Williams Robbins and I sit on the campus advisory board, and we got to shake a lot of hands, including about 100 plus graduates who were Fort Wayne students, and they were there because they were either getting a 2-year degree or a certificate of completion in a field, and that was pretty awesome. So, students are doing real well right now, and we saw that as they came in their gown through the line. So that was pretty cool.
And I'll be done.
Okay, Dr. Daniel?
So also, we have a student who graduated last year with 90 dual credits, of which she'll graduate with a bachelor's degree this summer. So we have amazing things going on in Fort Wayne Community Schools. Again, how do we have more students who are moving down that track of dual credit, getting ready for, because we do have a shortage of college graduates in the state of Indiana. So just in this sector, only 43% of our adult population is either credentialed or has a college degree. So again, we have to be the difference, and we need more students, like we just heard tonight, that are pursuing those avenues. And as we all know, we make shifts in our careers. So it's being able to have the flexibility, being able to adjust, and ultimately be successful, but also have that love of what you're doing, the passion of what you're doing. So just want to mention that. Second of all, we do have on Wednesday morning with JA 3DE, 3DE by JA, we have a breakfast. It's called Inspire to Hire. We have over 300 businesses that are joining us at tables. We also have our students that will be part of that. And again, a credit to Fort Wayne Community Schools and how it's engaging the community. And our students are learning, yes, the academics, but also life skills such as collaboration, communication, self-direction, self-regulation, cultural agility, the ability to be critical thinkers and to be creative. These are the things that our students are experiencing. I think we had some of our board members visit New Tech, but it's also now how has this become across the entire district. So again, New Tech, lovely program, awesome program, and again, look what's happening now throughout the district. And we can all be very pleased, I think, as well as proud of what we're doing in Fort Wayne Community Schools. But the ultimate goal is, how do you move students to where, yes, they're credentialed, and yes, they're ready for that college pursuit. And we hope they return to Fort Wayne, and specifically Fort Wayne Community Schools like you have. So I'll say one last thing, and that's the whole transition to teaching. You heard the reference to transition to teaching. We're continuing to expand that, and very pleased with the results of our students that are in those programs. We think matter of fact, they've 9 out of 10, I think, stay the entire year with us. You've heard some of those numbers, but more importantly, as we start to ramp up the school success in the area of education, we start to truly have we start to create our own teachers. And I think that's probably the most sustainable and probably most greatest impact, is how do we create our own, and how do we have them re-enter our system to support what we're doing. So yeah, I'm very enthusiastic, as well as, although I'm tired right now, I'll just say, getting ready for this week. I think we're ready to finish the school year very strong. There are only, after today, 9 days left. I mean, May 24th is going to be here before you know it. So congratulations to all the graduates. We'll see you during graduation. But also, teachers, hang in there. There are 9 days left. And students, remember, you still have 9 days left.
Oh, Maria, I did have one more, sorry.
Sure.
While we have our good friend Ashley here and our friends from the TV channel, if you didn't get a chance, the retirement dinner was on replay, and I know a couple people that might be able to get you a copy of it. You will have stories for a good rest of the year from some of the teachers and staff of Fort Wayne Community Schools. What did we hear about an ELL teacher that had tea with the parents, I think, from Northside? Very just great, genuine people, and the impact and the things they did for their students and for the community is pretty neat. That's it. Thank you.
Well, that was a great segue into what I was going to share. I also had the opportunity to go to the retirement dinner, and I hope that Mr. Hauser isn't mad that I share this, but his speech was absolutely beautiful. The gist of it was, you get into education to help students make their dreams come true. And Fort Wayne Community Schools made his dream come true. And I was just so touched by that. As a graduate of the district, I had teachers that were so dedicated and, went above and beyond to help. I was a first-generation college student. If it wasn't for Mamie Lee Brown, I don't know that I would have got to DePaul University. And so there are those difference makers in our building, and they're helping students meet their dreams, and, and so, yes, congratulations to all the retirees. Mr. Hauser, I'm sorry, I know you're kind of introvert, but your story was beautiful, and so I just needed to share. And then just wanted to say congratulations to all of our teachers of the year and all of our employees of the year, and our marketing team for putting together those great videos. It's just exciting to see people recognized for the hard work that they do day in and day out. So yes, we have 9 days left. Students have known that for quite some time. Yeah. Felipe, I will make a comment that currently you have no restrictions on sugar, and then you have to go to less than 10%. Middle schoolers are going to lose their mind. I mean, my kids' sugar consumption is ridiculous. All these drinks. Okay. I think that'll wrap up my comments. We have another meeting, yes, Monday, May 20th. That's our Student Recognition Board meeting, so looking forward to celebrating our students at that board meeting. Is there?
Move we approve, Madam
Second.
President.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?